So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time within 30 minutes. The idea is very simple. We want you to cover your current affairs and we want you to cover them on a daily basis, but we don't want you to spend your entire day just reading the newspaper. Therefore, we shall cover this entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes. Now, just watching this lecture would be job half done, because just after watching it, you need to revise it as well. Why? Well, revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Otherwise, you'll quickly forget them. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram platform. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comments section just below this video. Alright then, let's begin today's discussion. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. Okay, so let's begin. Daily Current Affairs, 24 June 2025, Tuesday. And the list of topics are as following. So topic number 1 is a report by World Meteorological Organization, WMO, that Asia is warming faster than global average. So the temperatures of Asia are growing faster than the entire world. So this is a worrisome news for India. Then, impact of Indo-US deal on agriculture. Now, India and USA are in the process of negotiating a trade deal. Now, news is out there that in that trade deal, India might have to give some concessions to USA. But those concessions might harm two agro-processing industries. Which are those two agro-processing industries? Well, we'll talk about that. Okay, it will definitely hamper our agricultural industry or our agricultural sector. Then, recently a school from Pune has been nominated for the award of World's Best School Prize 2025. So we would find out what this prize is all about, who releases this award, and what is the criteria for choosing the best school, world's best school, okay? And in the end, we'll talk about Qatar's significance for India, because recently Iran bombarded an American base in Qatar. There was an American Air Force base in Qatar. And Iran, in retaliation to America's attack on Iran, well, Iran bombarded that airbase in Qatar. Now, Qatar has condemned that attack, but it also is problematic for India because India has a lot of linkages with Qatar. Now, what sort of linkages does India have with Qatar? We'll talk about this. How is Qatar significant for Indians? And why this news that Iran bombarded Qatar or American airbase in Qatar is a significant news for us? We'll talk about this. Okay, so these are the four news items that we shall zero in our attention on. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is Asia warming faster than global average. Now look, there is this organization called World Meteorological Organization, and this organization is a specialized agency of United Nations, okay? Specialized agency of UN. Now, the job of World Meteorological Organization is to keep track of all the climate-related developments happening in the world, okay? And it basically allows countries to coordinate their action against climate change also. So, it's a very significant and important organization. Now, this organization also comes out with periodic scientific studies. One such study has revealed that Asia is warming faster than the rest of the world. So global temperatures are rising. Of course, that is what global warming is, or that is what climate change is. But Asian temperatures or temperatures in Asia are rising faster than even the rest of the world. Okay, Asia is warming faster. In fact, some reports say twice as fast as global average. Now, what are the consequences of such a event? Okay, what are the consequences? Let's talk about that. Okay, so Asia warming faster than global average, World Meteorological Organization. So what does the report say? So the report says that Asia experienced its warmest or second warmest year on records in 2024, with its average temperature at 1.04 degrees Celsius above the last 30-year average. So yes, temperatures are rising. Asia is warming up nearly twice as fast as the global average. Now, this is significant. All the other continents of the world are not warming as fast as Asia. Asia is showcasing an anomaly. Okay? Now, what are the disadvantages of such rapid warming effect? Okay, what are the disadvantages of this thing that is happening in Asia? Okay, well, if temperatures continue to increase the way they are, well, it can have serious repercussions for India as well as the rest of the Asia. Okay, already 2024 was the warmest or second warmest year for the past 30 years as far as Asia is concerned. Okay, and these warm temperatures have caused a lot of climate related disasters in 2024. Okay, what has been the impact of very high temperatures in the year 2024? Well, extreme weather events increased. Extreme weather events like tropical cyclones, their frequency and their intensity increased. Then prolonged and intense heat waves. Obviously, we Indians are used to heat waves, but heat waves have become a common occurrence in other parts of Asia as well. And extreme rainfall events, which causes flooding in certain areas, especially urban flooding. Okay, so this has been the impact. These climate related disasters were seen in the year 2024, and the reason is that, well, 2024 was the warmest or second warmest year on record for the past 30 years, by the way. Okay, now, what has been the impact basically? Climate alarm bells. So because 2024 was quite warm and Asia has been warming twice as fast as the global average, well, it has increased the frequency. Frequency means more and more in number. So it has increased the frequency as well as intensity of heat waves. We all know what heat waves are, right? Now, frequency means more and more episodes of heat waves are happening. Okay, intensity means heat waves are becoming stronger and stronger by every year. Okay, and this is not just the only problem. Heat waves have become quite common in the oceans also. These are called marine heat waves. Now, marine heat waves increase global sea temperatures. Okay, and when sea temperatures rise, well, that leads to, especially in tropical oceans of Asia, that leads to more and more tropical cyclones. Okay, and it impacts marine biodiversity as well. So heat waves have increased, marine heat waves have increased. Plus, because of this climate change, or because of climate change, well, snowfall has declined in Himalayan region. Plus, because of increased temperatures, glacier melting has also intensified. Therefore, snow cover in Himalayan region has declined. Now, if glaciers, all the glaciers of Himalayan region melt away, well, that would be very bad news for India. Why? Because a lot of these glaciers feed our rivers, okay, in northern plains at least. And these rivers are the lifeline of North India. Okay, so snowfall occurrence or snowfall has declined. The amount of snow that fell last year, well, that declined. Glacier melting has decreased because of increased what? Temperatures. So this is a problem. Okay, now about tropical cyclones. So like I said, because sea surface temperatures have increased, it has increased the frequency and intensity of tropical cyclones as well. You see, tropical cyclones, if you have studied tropical cyclones in your geography lectures, okay, tropical cyclones take their energy from sea temperatures. Okay, the higher the temperature in tropical oceans, the more intense and more frequent would be these tropical cyclones. Clear? So now, because the temperatures have risen, marine heat wave episodes have increased, therefore tropical cyclones frequency has also increased. I mean, it was very high in 2024. In fact, Asia's strongest and deadliest tropical cyclone in 2024 was Cyclone Yagi, which impacted East Asia. Okay, China, Vietnam, Philippines, and all these countries. Then 3 tropical cyclones made their landfall in Indian subcontinent: Remal, Fingal, Dana, which killed about 90 people. Then generally, tropical cyclones originate in Bay of Bengal. But this time around, well, tropical cyclones also originated in Arabian Sea. Cyclone Asna originated from Arabian Sea, caused flooding in Gujarat and killed about 50 people. So these extreme weather events or climate related events have also increased. Clear? So this was written in the report published by WMO. Now we need to know what WMO is also. Okay, what WMO is, because questions can be asked from this part as well. What is World Meteorological Organization? So let's gather some information about WMO. Okay, so the full form of WMO is World, I'll write it down, Meteorological Organization. Okay, now it was established in 1873, but back then it was called International Meteorological Organization. Then after World War II, when United Nations was established, this IMO was rechristened as WMO in 1950, and it was made a specialized agency of UN. Okay, so in 1950, WMO was born from IMO and it was made a specialized agency of UN. So it functions under UN. Okay, now the number of members of this organization is 193. Its headquarters are in Geneva, and its governance structure is as following. Okay, so World Meteorological Congress is the highest decision making or policy making body under WMO. Now, World Meteorological Congress is basically a conference under which all 193 members meet, and it happens every 4 years. Major policy decisions are taken at this World Meteorological Congress. Now, whatever decisions are taken at this WMC are implemented by Executive Council, and the administrative machinery of WMO is the Secretariat, headed by a Secretary General. This Secretary General is elected by Congress, WMC, and he or she is appointed for a period of 4 years again. Okay, make sense? So this is World Meteorological Organization. Now let's quickly shift our focus to impact of Indo-US trade deal on agriculture. Now look, Donald Trump has been threatening all the countries of the world that he would put tariffs, very high tariffs on those countries or goods coming from those countries into America. That is why all countries are lining up to negotiate a trade deal with America. Now, India is also among those, India is also part of that lineup, right? So India wants to negotiate a trade deal with USA as soon as possible. Now, under a trade deal, well, some concessions would be given by India, some concessions would be given by USA. Now, by concessions, I mean India would give more market access to some American industries, and American industries would give more market access of America to some Indian industries, right? Now, two such proposals are being floated at these negotiations. Proposal number one is with respect to sugar industry, and proposal number two is with respect to soybean industry. Now, if these proposals are part of final Indo-US trade deal, then it would really hamper sugar industry of India and soybean processing industry of India. Clear? Now, how so? Let's talk about that. Okay. So, impact of Indo-US deal on agriculture. Clear? Now, India is under negotiation with USA for this trade deal. Now, what is the impact? Impact of Indo-US trade deal. Well, this trade deal will impact two agro-processing industries. Okay, one is the sugar industry, the other is the soybean industry. Now, first let's talk about sugar industry. Okay, now look, how is sugar made? Well, there are sugar mills. Listen to me carefully, okay? You'll understand the entire issue. Now, these sugar mills procure sugar cane from farmers. Okay, they process this sugar cane and they produce sugar which they sell in the market. But along with this sugar, many byproducts are also created, okay, or produced. Some of these byproducts are molasses. So when you produce sugar from sugarcane juice, okay, sugarcane juice. So when you produce sugar from sugarcane juice, a dark syrupy liquid is left. Okay, that dark syrupy liquid is molasses. Now this molasses can be used to produce ethanol. Ethanol is Well, alcohol. Okay. Now, the government has come out with a program called Ethanol Blending Petrol Program or Ethanol Blending Program, under which 20% of petrol used in vehicles shall contain 20% ethanol. So you will blend ethanol with petrol, so much so that 20% of your fuel is ethanol, 80% is petrol. Clear? Now, because of this program, demand for ethanol has increased, and these sugar mills became very happy because now, apart from selling sugar, they can earn money by selling ethanol produced from molasses, and there is high demand for ethanol because of this ethanol blending program. Right? Makes sense? But well, the thing is that ethanol can also be created from other things as well. Okay? Now this molasses, for producing ethanol, we use molasses. Molasses is known as the feedstock of ethanol. Okay, feedstock. Okay, feedstock is the raw material used to produce ethanol. Okay. Now, apart from molasses, there are other feedstocks, other examples of feedstock as well. You can produce ethanol from maize, corn, rice, and other grains as well. Now, slowly and gradually, more and more people or more and more ethanol producers are producing ethanol from maize. Therefore, demand for molasses has declined. Because demand for molasses has declined, well, sugar industries or sugar mills, which were earning a lot of revenue because of high demand for molasses, they are now troubled because now people are producing ethanol from maize, corn, and rice. Now, this is the current situation. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Okay, how does India-US trade deal impact this? Well, it impacts sugar mills. How? Well, India is thinking about giving market access to American maize and American corn. Now, if India does that as a part of this trade deal, then cheap maize and cheap corn would come from USA into India. Okay? Now it would become cheaper for ethanol producers to use maize instead of molasses. Already they are preferring maize instead of molasses, but now because cheap maize will be available from, or cheap corn will be available from America, they would prefer corn. Right? So, well, sugar mills are saying that already there is decreased usage of molasses as feedstock. Plus, government is planning to allow free import of maize, and government is also planning to allow free import of direct ethanol. Now, if people can directly import ethanol from abroad, why would they want, or why would there be demand for molasses? So, sugar mills are saying that this would significantly reduce our revenues. Okay, decline in revenue for sugar mills. So, sugar industry or sugar mills are not happy. Now, let's talk about soybean industry. Okay, now government is thinking about allowing free import of soybean into India as part of this India-US trade deal. Now, USA is the second largest producer of soybean in the world after Brazil. Brazil is the largest. Okay, USA is the second largest. So, USA is looking for markets to sell its soybean. Plus, USA produces GM soybean, genetically modified soybean. Okay, now the thing is, soybean is used to produce soybean oil, plus the leftover of that oil is the soybean cake or meal, which is used as fodder for livestock. People who rear cattle or other livestock, they use this soya bean cake as fodder. Okay. Now, India is thinking about allowing free import of soya bean directly into India. The idea behind this is that, free import of soybean would be allowed from USA. That would make cheap soybean available for soybean industry. Now, because soybean grains or oil seeds are now cheap, they would produce cheap oil, soybean oil, which can be sold in India. Plus, there is high export demand for soybean. Just a second. For soybean meal, cake, right? So India's exports would increase. Indian people would get access to cheap soybean oil because now we are allowing cheap imports of soybean. But soybean industry or soybean processing industries which produce this oil or cake, they say that, well, look, this will disincentivize soybean farmers of India, because soybean farmers of India will sow soybean if they get higher price for soybean. But if India would allow cheap imports of soybean into India, then what would happen? Then the price for Indian soybean would decline. Farmers would be like, they're not getting good return on soybean, so let's grow some other crop. So Indian farmers would be at a disadvantageous position who are growing soybean, because now we are allowing cheap soybean from USA. Clear? So this is the problem. So these are the two industries that can be harmed by this Indo-US trade deal because of these two proposals forwarded by Indian government as a part of negotiations with USA with respect to this trade deal. Right? Make sense? Okay. Yeah. So that would be all. Clear? Now let's quickly shift our focus to World's Best School Award 2025. Now a school based in Pune, which was under the control of the Zilla Parishad there. Well, it was about to close in 2021, but it somehow survived and it turned itself around so much so that it is now ready to, or it is now nominated for this award, World's Best School Award. Okay. Now, the pertinent question for us is, what is this World's Best School Award? So let's talk about it. Okay. So World's Best School Prize 2025. Okay. So it is organized, this award ceremony is organized by UK-based international education platform T4 Education. Okay. It is an initiative launched in response to the COVID-19 crisis, because the biggest problem, not the biggest, but one of the problems of COVID-19 induced lockdowns were that children missed a lot as far as their school years are concerned. Because kids were not going to school, well, they lost touch with their studies. Online education never works to that extent for children, because children are very little. Their age is quite tender and their minds are impressionable. In their case, online education doesn't work. It works for us for competitive exams, but not for children. And because children were out of schools, okay, so therefore once the lockdowns were over, well, UK-based T4 Education organized this award ceremony to create a healthy competition of sorts among schools so that they can rectify this problem that was created because of COVID-19 induced lockdowns, right? So it is an initiative launched in response to COVID-19 crisis and aims to spotlight schools that are creating meaningful changes in classrooms. So it has 5 categories of awards, okay? One category is for school that supports healthy lives, healthy lifestyle. School that has overcome adversity, that has come up in very challenging circumstances. Schools that are great for innovation. Schools that are great for environmental action. Schools that are great for community collaboration. So these are the 5 categories for which these 5 awards are given. Now this Pune-based school is nominated for community collaboration. Okay. Now voting, now nomination has been done, so most of the schools are nominated. 3 other schools from India have been nominated, okay? Not just this Pune-based schools, 3 other schools have been nominated. So nominations are done, now voting shall take place and then winners would be announced in October. Let's keep our fingers crossed, okay? Let's hope all these 4 schools from India win this contest. It will be really good for India's pride, or at least India's educational system's pride, okay? Any which way, let's shift our focus quickly to topic number 4, and that is Qatar's significance for India. Okay. Now, in response to America's bombing campaign in Iran, Iran retaliated by bombing American air base in Qatar. Now, Qatar obviously condemned this attack. America is also not happy with this attack, though well, they are very close to, they announced a ceasefire, but the news came out that the ceasefire has been violated. Any which way, things are going on. But this bombing of airbase in Qatar has really worried India, because Qatar is quite important, very important for India. Okay, first of all, it lies at a very strategic location, Gulf countries. Okay, it's part of Gulf Cooperation Council as well. Plus, Qatar is very important for India's energy security. Plus, there are many more advantages of having a healthy relationship with Qatar. And India is concerned about Qatar, because if Qatar goes down, or if any problem comes to Qatar, then many of India's or some of India's energy imports would get impacted. Plus, there would be many more disadvantages. Okay, Qatar is important for us. Long story cut short, Qatar is important for us. Now, how important is Qatar for us? Let's talk about that. Okay, what are the areas in which India and Qatar cooperate a lot? Okay, because of that, there is some sort of interdependence. Now, what is that interdependence? Let's talk about that. Okay, so yeah, Qatar's significance for India. So first of all, India shares a strategic partnership with Qatar. Then, one of the largest Indian expat community, around 8 lakh Indians live in Qatar. So if there is a security situation in Qatar, well, these 8 lakh Indians would, or their lives would be in danger, and India would be worried about that. Okay. Plus, India also gains a lot out of these 8 lakh Indians living in Qatar, because, well, as far as per capita income is concerned, Qatar is ranked quite high. These Indians who are living in Qatar, they earn a lot of money, and they send some money home, which is known as remittances. Now, India is very happy about these remittances. These 8 lakh Indians sending money back to India, these remittances, it really helps India's forex, foreign exchange reserves, and stabilization of India's rupee. Okay, if you know about economics, you will understand this. But India gains a lot of remittances from this expat community. Now, if Qatar is in danger, these expats are in danger. So India is concerned about that. Then, 40% of its LNG imports, liquefied natural gas, comes from Qatar. And most of them come from Strait of Hormuz. We have talked about Strait of Hormuz, right? So if anything happens to Qatar, well, the shipments of these LNG imports would be in danger. Plus, Qatar has a lot of money. And Qatar has a sovereign wealth fund. Qatar has already invested $1.5 billion in India, in infrastructure. Plus, Qatar has promised another $10 billion worth of investment in India. That is a good source of investment for India. It would really help India to build infrastructure, right? Now, if Qatar is in danger, this foreign investment is also in danger. So these are some of the few linkages that India has with Qatar, and that is why India is worried India is worried about the security situation in the entire West Asian region. Make sense? All right. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it would add more value. I say this every time. It would add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series and you revise this lecture. Now, you can revise this lecture from our notes. So I'm hoping that you revise these lectures. If you're regular with this lecture series, I'm hoping that every time you watch this lecture, you revise it as well, because only revision can help you memorize these current affairs. On that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.